Hey everyone, Adam and Andrew here with It Takes Two Takes, here to review the latest movie within the MCU, Shang-Chi. We just got back from the theater to watching this film. No advanced screening. We're not that popular. This isn't making money. Nobody would care. Nobody's trying to buy our opinion, but we have them. This is not the movie I thought it was going to be. The trailer, if you've seen it, it gives an okay impression. But a lot more happens in this film than I think people are going to realize on a lot of fronts, which we're going to briefly discuss here. Again, no spoilers. How did you feel walking away from this one?
I liked it. Shang-Chi was something very different, which is one of the things I liked about it. It's an origin story I don't know. It's not a comic book I ever read. It wasn't a character I was ever following, so it all came in fresh. There were times you don't even know that it's a MCU movie. You could almost feel like you're not in an MCU movie.
Yeah.
And then they bring in a little nugget here and there to kind of remind you, hey, by the way, this is a Marvel movie, by the way.
I agree with you. When I sit through an MCU film, especially lately, I'm watching for the familiar beats. I kind of calling it in my mind before it even happens. And while there are times that happens in this film, for the most part, I was caught off guard in a number of moments, whether it was a plot twist, whether it was, a surprise, whether from a character standpoint or a plot standpoint, or maybe it was surprised by, honestly, and my biggest takeaway was the action and the way that the choreography played, not just from a choreography standpoint, but from an editing standpoint. One of my biggest gripes with MCU in general lately has been just the tight shots, the cuts constantly. We saw it in Loki nonstop. I know that's more of a series, but regardless, when we talk about MCU as a whole, as someone that grew up watching martial arts films, I love to see wide shots, letting scenes breathe, make it feel like it's one take. You don't have to get too fancy, but I don't need multiple different angles of a fist going over someone's shoulder. And this film surprised me in that regard because, again, not only did I love the choreography, I felt as though it was very well shot and very well edited. It felt like a lot of films I grew up watching, Jackie Chan films, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I saw a lot of influence of things that I enjoyed in the martial arts genre.
Right. It really was like bringing the kind of a mythical martial arts storyline into the MCU. You could tell they took a lot of care in making sure that this world was properly represented. And I think one of the things I really liked about it was the villain wasn't a paper villain. The villain, you understood his motivation, you understood his feelings, what he was trying to do, why he wanted to do what he was doing. You had depth to this villain, as well as how the the protagonist is interacting with him and why the motivation was there. It didn't feel like a propped up villain just for the sake of a villain, which I really appreciated.
The conflict made sense. It moved along well. The film itself was paced very well, in my opinion. I do feel like the climactic scene towards the end of it, maybe there was a couple of extra, moments that they could have trimmed out, but that's complete nitpicking because to me, this hit a lot of marks for me. And I will say that the actor who plays Sean, Simu Liu, he was fantastic. I haven't seen him in anything else, and if I have, I've forgotten about it. And I was surprised at how charismatic he was and how well he played that role and how good he was physically on screen in these, one-on-one and one-on-many fight situations.
Aquafina did a great job in this as well. She was definitely more than just there for comic relief, though she was plenty of that. She was there to be more than just that best friend who just happens to show up or whatever, which I feel happens so much in superhero films. When I look at the first of the MCU Spider-Man movies, that felt like the best friend was just kind of there from a convenience standpoint at times, where she didn't feel that way.
Yeah, I agree with you. Aquafina's character, Katie, she's not a one-dimensional comic relief type character that you kind of expect early on. There's a little bit more. The chemistry is great. They have great back and forth, great rapport. But there's a little bit more depth to her character as the movie progresses. We talked about this after the movie, Adam. I would recommend this film to anyone that's seen very few MCU films. You're going to be rewarded by a lot of things if you have. But if you haven't, in a number of ways, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I felt as though it could work pretty well as a standalone-ish MCU film. It doesn't rely too heavily on the world that's built around it, but it's there.
For those who like Asian martial arts movies, those who don't mind foreign films, there are subtitles in this. It is something to be prepared for if you object highly to subtitles. If you're the type of person who's watched every Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee movie in dub because you just don't want to read subtitles, you might have a hard time with some parts of this movie. Just saying.
Yeah, I know it's a fair warning, I suppose. It was a little more than you're probably used to, but I'm ballpark guessing here, maybe 10% of the movie.
I have obviously no problem with it. You know, I watch anime with subtitles. I watch foreign films with subtitles. It doesn't bother me at all. But I know enough people that detest subtitles that it's a fair warning to at least throw out there. You are going to do a little bit of reading, so probably don't go watch this movie drunk. Just saying.
Fair. It's all fair.
Final thoughts for you, though.
Final thoughts for me. This was probably the most fun I've had watching a MCU film, especially in theaters, but even in general, in quite some time. I thought this is a perfect movie theater film. The action deserves to be seen on a big screen, and you're going to be entertained. You're going to enjoy these characters. You're going to laugh at it. I don't want to say that it takes a lot of chances. This is still an MCU film, but I like that they went in this direction and they went with the character of Shang-Chi, and they did this film because of the lore and everything they've built around it, which this film executes very well. So to me, this is a great Marvel film. I can't wait to watch it again and really see where it kind of ranks amongst all the MCU films that we've seen. But until then, I'm just excited that I was able to see this, and I'd recommend it to anyone that is even a casual MCU fan.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. See it in the theater, see it on the big screen. The visual effects look beautiful. The action is great. Go to the theater and watch this movie because we want it to do well, because we don't want to have to keep waiting for movies because they keep pushing them back more and more. So I definitely say go see this movie, check it out. It's different. It feels different. It's MCU, but it's not MCU. And yeah, I'd give it 2 thumbs up.
If you feel safe, you've taken your precautions, whatever you're comfortable with. But if you're comfortable with it and you've been seeing movies in theaters, this is one to do that with, for sure.
And until next time, this is Adam and Andrew with It Takes Two Takes. Hey, Adam here. If you like this video, check out our other videos. We have recommendations right over here. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like our video, comment, feed all those YouTube algorithm gods that are out there and help us get promoted and more people watch us. And until next time, enjoy.